I got involved in the Poor People campaign, the second one that went to D.C., and I was involved with a newspaper called the Southern Courier that covered civil rights events in the South. I know the questions that have been asked, were you scared? And of course I was, quite scared. I got connected with SNCC, and I was on the fringe of being a little radical, and so my sense when I got involved with the Courier, it was more paranoia. You know, these white guys and ladies that have come from the North, Ken, do you really trust them? So I was quite interested in civil rights. My parents, they was involved in the civil rights movement, the bus boycott in Montgomery that pretty much got the whole civil rights movement in the South started. That's when Dr. King emerged in Montgomery. He was the pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, and from that we kind of know what history have laid out about him and his commitment to civil rights. I look back and I look at the Southern Courier as being raw journalism. I think all of us, to some degree, we didn't know it all, and we learned, but I think the results is great that this is a part of history that will go on long after we are gone. And I'm just glad I've been a part of it. So I kind of grew up with a civil rights background, being in the newspaper business that started about 20 years ago here in Racine, and so it was always, as we covered events, we had the kind of the civil rights twist on it. Most recently, within the last 4 years, I've been very concerned about the treatment of African-Americans in Racine, especially in the downtown area. And I love Racine, but I do not like the treatment of minorities in Racine. And there have been my efforts since I've been here to try to make a difference and make those, make changes. We are very concerned about whether or not African-American bars are being targeted, closed, their license being given to white bar owners. This is a concern, and we want to answer.
The policeman on the corner is a good symbol for law. Like the policeman, law directs us in doing the right things to live together in harmony. And law forbids us from doing the wrong things that tend to destroy that social harmony. But law is more than the policeman on the corner, more than the courthouse where our laws are enforced, more than the jail where lawbreakers are punished. We simply don't cheat in games. We and the society in which we live think that's the proper way.
Michelle Alderman Keith Fair is still in jail here in Racine County for attacking a pregnant woman. These court records describe a violent and bloody scene.
He's charged with 3 counts, including strangulation and suffocation of a woman last Friday.
Alleging the alderman struck her and choked her to the point she couldn't breathe.
I've lived in Racine for 12 years, and once the licensing committee was up and active, part of this licensing committee's approach is to make you have a statement about why your bar is going to make a difference in Racine. And that's been rather humorous to listen to over the years. It's not humorous, however, when people are rejected and others aren't, and there aren't any consistent reasons for being rejected or being accepted. So I have seen people lose their license. I've seen people not be able to get licenses.
There is no right to a liquor license. As much as some people may wish it was otherwise, there is no right to an alcohol license. There have been cases where people have sued to say they were deprived of something, and the lawsuit was dismissed because there was no property right at issue, because you can't be deprived of something that you have no right to. There is no right to an alcohol license. Who we give them to and how we give them out is a matter of local concern, and is a matter of basically great deliberation on our part.
My name is Ken Lumpkin. I've been in Racine over 35 years. I came here to start a newspaper. One of my efforts in starting the paper was that small black businesses was having problems getting their message out, information about their business. So that was one of the major reasons for starting that.
My name is Wilbur Jones. I was the owner of Viper's Lounge. It's 501 High Street, Racine, Wisconsin. I was in business like 9 years. I wanted a restaurant, and it was so hard to get a restaurant started, I decided to open the bar up and put a restaurant in the bar. That's how I got started. Yeah, I had, I was in the newspaper a couple of times for having stepping and bopping classes for people to come here and learn how to step and bop. It wasn't all just for young people, it was for older people too. And it turned out real good.
My name is Omjai Nagels. I own Ginger Lounge in downtown Racine on Main Street. We have a good business and everything is just run, keep getting better every, time go by, and our business pretty good.
One day just driving around in this particular neighborhood and saw the sign on the window that it was about to be a Latin club. And so then I contacted the owner of the property, and he discussed to me that they were having some difficulties opening the club. What we started there was a upscale nightclub that appealed to all people, nationalities, didn't matter, ages 21 and up. And so I worked out a deal with the owner and the licensee of that particular business at that time. I think it was called Tanita.
Dress codes were built in. The applicant agreed to some very restrictive, probably the most restrictive agreements we've ever put on an establishment, one that hasn't even opened its doors yet.
There are more restrictions on this particular place, and they don't even have their first dollar framed behind the bar. There are more restrictions on this place than there are in taverns where people have been killed. This is sort of making sure, it's like an insurance policy, thank you, that things will go okay, and if they don't, we won't be stuck with a problem and that we can't get out of in time.
There are a number of reasons why I would vote against this. If it was an accordion bar, if it was a marching band bar, it has nothing to do with the facility that's going in there.
Initially, it was a good relationship. It was a good business, working relationship. And, a few of them had came by to see the establishment at one time or another, and they thought it was pretty good. But at that particular time, it was a predominant white clientele.
Name's Peter Phone Campaign. I was helping running Gingers on downtown Racine. When we moved to the new building and that we were doing a bar and the club and all that, it was in our business plan. The city said this was a great business plan, and they let us proceed. And once we were proceeding, they didn't like how our customers turned out. They were mixed and they were big, and the city didn't know how to control that.
I started getting a lot of calls from the committee, calling me in, asking me questions about, we didn't think it was going to be the type of establishment that catered towards minorities, because prior to that, we had no problems. I mean, the clientele, initially the white clientele would sit outside, smoke, sit on the curbs. We had a big crowd. Police had never had a problem with police contact. But once the clientele changed, we didn't know you were going to advertise. We didn't know your clientele was going to be that big.
Since we have more business and kind of different cows, different color, we start to get call in from the city and call in and tell us to kind of sign agreements that what we should do better, what we can do better to kind of solve the problem. By that time, I kind of don't get why it's a problem, because we barely have any problem, probably just one fight. And I think, okay, and we figured out and we're working with the city.
One of the things that kind of upset me was I attended one of the License and Welfare Committee meetings, and you had a doctor that is what we would consider an outstanding citizen in the community. She was opening up like an African-type restaurant, and the first question they asked her, not what kind of food you're gonna serve, or how you anticipate your business running, was, are you gonna play hip-hop?
When a person of color comes to ask for a liquor license, are you going to play hip-hop?
In 2009 was what I would classify if somebody asked you, what was the best year that you ever had in your life? In 2009 was the best year that I ever had in my life. And in 2011 to 2012 has been the worst year of my life.
Those reports that goes to the DRC are reported to the license committee, I think, every week. And so here they are building a case against me, against the Park 6 establishment, which we were totally unaware of until it became quarter-inch thick.
With Pete, you're talking about an ethnic man. They're Thai. Was that part of it? Maybe so. Was it because he was so successful? He charged a little less than other people, and he had, a lot of people coming to his bar, but nothing would satisfy the licensing committee. The writing was on the wall from the very beginning.
The alderman, Jeff Cole, he came by with one of the business owners, also downtown, who had a tavern, giving us advice and tips on how to operate the business. They came in and said, this is how you should run it. If you have customers that you don't really want in, you can change the price of the alcohol or not even serve them. And we took that as, well, thank you for the advice, but we believe people should be treated fairly.
And I said, why would you say the city gonna shut me down? There's nothing going on here. He said, because they don't want your business here. He said, as a matter of fact, I'm glad your business here because it keeps all the ghetto from downtown. Now this is from a business owner to another business owner.
The NAACP a couple years ago came out with a report, and it was a pretty scathing report from the standpoint that they did their research, and they said they came to the conclusion that the downtown folks did not want black people in the downtown area. And after that report was put on the back burner, then the city of Racine came after one of the minority bars, which was Ginger's.
Whatever we do, it's just always wrong. And public in the open, I remember not a big thing, actually, the underage that we have. It's not somebody that walk in just because my own worker lied to me because it's their family. And they keep telling me the same story, been 2-3 years, about what we had. Because they can't find the problem at the bar, but they keep saying, okay, the alderman walk past to your bar and have throw the bottle, and it's the throw the bottle is same story.
We have the 2 underage sales has been noted in 11 months. We have representations from ownership that they're doing everything they can, and it's still happening. We have some crowd issues. I think that we do need to move to due process.
When suggested that perhaps he look at catering to a different clientele. We were told, well, I've tried that and it doesn't work.
The third year that we were going back to renew our liquor license, they decided to take us to due process. At the due process, they gave us the chance to negotiate before going to the due process, and they gave us 3 options in that negotiation. The first option was to voluntarily give up our liquor license. The second option was to move the bar, and they'll consider moving the liquor license with the bar, but of course they may not. And then the third one, the third option was for us to dramatically change our format, basically get rid of our customers and just be a nice small bar.
I said, well, I already know who public enemy number 1 is. I'm public enemy number 1. I realize who I am as a person. I'm very secure in my skin. I know that I'm black. I'm not trying to be white.
There's no reason whatsoever. It came through committee. There's no reason. They can't come up with a dignified reason and stuff as to why this item has to go back there. There's no dignified reason. Whatever. If race is very prevalent in 2010, let's deal with it.
Why don't we just do this? Why don't we just not let the heathens in the downtown area? All I'm asking of this council to do is, and this committee to do, is be consistent. Be consistent across the board, and you won't have a problem with Alderman Fair. It's a right because you pay for the license and you go forward and you own the license, and gives you the right, and it's not a privilege. And that's just one black man's opinion.
In the last 20 years, I've seen an enormous change. One of the things that I've noticed through being in politics is the fact that minority bars are used by aldermen, especially in the city, as a way of showing their toughness against crime and the toughness in the community. Most African-American bar owners believe that they are being targeted, they are being closed down in order to open up other bars in more affluent areas.
Mainly because the neighbors did not want me here. That was the main reason. And Captain wanted to be alderman, so he made a promise that he would get rid of me if he was elected. That's what he did.
I sat a half a block down on 3 Saturdays in a row, and I could hear noise and I could hear people hollering and yelling when they came out.
There was no facts that will allow this committee to suspend those licenses. There was not enough concrete evidence, I felt, that would give any warrant to suspending this license. I did hear on numerous occasions that this bar was compared to other bars of colors.
Just don't target someone and put them out of business. And other bars do the same thing, and you don't do anything to them.
This case needed to go to due process. And although there may not have been shooting at this bar, there may not have been blood on the streets, as we have seen in some other cases previously, each individual case that comes before the committee has individual facts about it. And we have to decide which cases rise to the level of consideration for due process. We did that. A case was built against the establishment, stating that it uses an excessive amount of police resources, and that was exactly what was found and sustained.
And he was on the License and Safety Committee, so I shouldn't have been judged by the accuser. He accused me of doing things, and he was sitting on the committee too. He shouldn't have been there. And I did object to him being there, but it didn't do no good.
Yes, I'd like to respond. I did hire police according to the council, and every time the policemen did their job, they came to the meeting and they told them the requirements they had for me, what I had to do. And all those police calls were by those policemen that was working for me. I didn't have any going to the city that the city police came and responded to. And Mr. Kaplan, well, me and him had an altercation before I came to this due process, because I called him a racist and he knew we got into it, and I objected him sitting on the council. He can't be fair. He said he don't talk to bar owners, and he would never come and talk to me to see what the problem was so I could solve the problem in the neighborhood. I didn't know what the problem was because didn't nobody tell me.
I wasn't going to say anything on this because I was going to let sleeping dogs lie, but anyone who knows me knows I'm not a racist.
When you have white establishment where it says pool balls thrown, people being stabbed, people being shot, and it's unrelated to the operation of the establishment, where if there's an argument, they'll call us in, chastise us, tell us we need to do this, we need to do that, you need to add cameras, you need to add more security. And when we take these measures, and then you can be in business in operation another 3 months or month, nothing happens, then there's a little dispute between two people and they're calling us back into the office to try to revocate or take our license. It's totally unfair.
Right now, we have renewed a license, okay, where there's an allegation of a murder pending investigation. We don't know whether the bar owner had any responsibility for this or not, but we didn't non-renew them. Okay, there have been assaults throughout the city at numerous bars, and patrons cited more citations than at this bar. There was a rival motorcyclist group that got into a fight just recently on Main Street, and neither one of those bars was not renewed. And we have another establishment where there were 4 documented after-hours sales of liquor, and we renewed their license tonight. I'm not trying to suggest that there's any actual unfair treatment. I believe this committee does everything it can to protect public safety. But I would ask you, are we putting the city in its best light? Ultimately, I was moved, after a year of service on public safety and licensing, I was moved to the Public Works and Services Committee. So apparently the mayor preferred not to have me on that committee.
You know, we have worked very aggressively, and I want to give our heartfelt thanks to our Public Safety and Licensing Committee, who's been working very, very diligently on making sure Racine is a great, or 6th Street specifically, is a great place for people to live, shop, and work and play.
I had talked to Thomas Holmes. He said, you know, the cops have been sitting out in front of my building. They bring up the nuisance vehicle, and he said he had a feeling that they just didn't want black people downtown. So I started to go down there. I thought, well, I'm going to find out if this is legitimate. You know, I mean, if there is a problem, I mean, I want to know about it.
I spent more than a dozen weekends up on a rooftop watching police activities and customer activities at 2 of the bars located in downtown Racine. And from my experience, the actions that were brought to the council simply were just unreasonable.
All of a sudden, I started to get these violations in the mail, that the building needed to have larger street numbers, it had to have paint, it had to have the windows cracked. So I started having court dates. I had to show up at court. And then pretty soon I'm in court, and eventually I went 13 times to court within a year's period of time. And I'm thinking to myself, across the street, the paint is sheeting off these buildings. There's broken windows around the corner. There's, from eyes view from my building, there's multiple violations. And then I started to think, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about that building. It's about Thomas Holmes. It's about his bar.
Because they had already said they thought I was a drug dealer, thought I was a pimp, running prostitution. These are facts. These are facts. When I'm just a businessman running a legitimate operation.
When groups of people frequenting the downtown area see a group of African-American males or females, there's an apprehension to them where they have a fear. Now, the fear to the individual person is real, but that being said, how is that the business place's fault? It isn't. But what I try to tell the owners is you have to appreciate that fear, because what that fear becomes then sometimes an overreaction by a community to get rid of a club, a nightclub or a business that caters to predominantly minority communities.
I mean, black-owned bars, I met with them recently, all the remaining bars, they are absolutely afraid that they're going to be put out of business.
They don't feel that the government is willing to work with them hand in hand. They don't understand why. And they look at other similarly situated businesses that have Caucasians frequenting them and feel that they're treated differently. And therein lies the problem.
I mean, they have just broken down and eliminated these minority bars almost systematically. So I started to look into it a little bit deeper, and there's a term for it that the Justice Department it's called pattern or practice. And what it is a municipality, is a landlord, is someone setting up a pattern to discriminate or to treat a certain body, of ethnic body, differently than you may have treated another one.
Other bars do the same thing and you don't do anything to them. Other bars had shooting, I never had a shooting. Other bars had people to get hurt, I never had anyone to get hurt. So if you're gonna be fair to everyone.
There were shootings at a bar, a white-owned bar on the north side of Racine. I believe three shots. In another case, in another white-owned bar, a man was actually killed either in the parking lot or somewhere associated with the bar and then brought back to the bar. In both of those cases, nothing happened to the license holders.
Now we got a dead body. Now you call this white establishment up and then you say, oh, have you ever considered putting up cameras? And the white establishment says, well, quite frankly, Alderman, we can't afford cameras right now. If that would have been me, or that would have been any one of these minority establishments, you would have been going to due process, because you wouldn't be allowed to stand up there and say, I don't have the money.
I don't see where I went wrong. I tried my best to have the best bar, try to keep a neat, clean bar, try to keep trouble out. I don't see where I went wrong at all. That's my livelihood, and I don't know what I'll do. I got 2.5 more years for Social Security. I was trying to last to the end, but I just can't talk.
We did try working something out, and she did say that she wasn't financially able to go along with the agreement that was going to be worked out with the city attorneys. When I talked to her when she called me from the hospital and she'd been shot, I said, isn't there anything else you could think of doing? If somebody shot me in the hand, I would think different of the business.
There's no indication that she has hired extra security personnel.
There's no indication that she has installed surveillance or video cameras, and there's no evidence that she has hired any off-duty help. I have to only conclude that the wake-up call is not what is needed here. What is needed here is a revocation.
You know, I thought, I'm going to look into this if they've done this to anybody else. So I went back and I went back 6 years in the city of Racine's minutes. Right out of the gate, 2006, Jose and Maria Maldonado, they just pop up.
So as you can see, my dad's property starts from the bar all the way over there, next to Walgreens, and it goes all the way down to the
end of the canopy.
To the end of the canopy over there, and you could see why the city would be interested in all this land.
It not only was the bar, it was the whole west side of the train stations the Maldonados owned.
This is basically what happened. A lady and a wife and a husband got into a fight. They were going through a divorce or whatever, I think it was. They're splitting up, and the lady was hitting the man, and the guy grabbed the bottle cap and supposedly slit her throat. It was a cut, but it wasn't nothing like really deep.
It was just a scratch.
It was like a scratch.
As I looked a little deeper into it, I find that they called them to due process. I found the police report. They said that husband and wife had gotten into a fight in the bar and that they were in violation of, I don't know, whatever. I pulled the police report. They didn't have nothing on that bar.
The case is that they give me a big ticket for $1,500, and then from there until the end, there was all little different things. And then Becker, the mayor, came here a couple of times, and he made up, I guess, his decision about us getting out of here because he refused to give me my liquor license back.
The judge sentenced Gary Becker to 3 years in prison for trying to meet up with a 14-year-old girl he met online for sex.
Yeah, they told my dad they promised Richard that he would be relocated. And that didn't happen. Richard was living on the street for how long, Richard?
I lived down by Lincoln Park in a tent for about maybe a month and a half.
¿El liquor license?
La
licencia?
Cuando nos cerraron, que si lo queríamos pelear que costaba $10,000.
Oh, my mom said that if we wanted the license, the city told them that if they wanted the license back, after we sold the bar, they would charge us $10,000 to get the license back after we sold the bar.
To start a new bar.
To start a new bar. That's what they told us. And ever since that incident, we just had a whole bunch of complaints about the city. Where they put us on the paper saying that, what did they say on the paper? That
they gave them bad reputation.
We got a bad reputation basically on the paper. And my mom was just, for a while, she was so embarrassed to even go outside because it was just such a embarrassing thing that they would put something like that on a newspaper about us, which wasn't true. So, just bad people, man.
The newspaper and the police seem to work in conjunction with City Hall, and they get things out of order.
Yeah, they used the newspaper to put bad remarks on me. They accused me of having a shooting around my bar, which was actually 9 blocks away from my bar at someone else's home, but they blamed it on the bar, and they printed it in the newspaper.
Now it seems everything is on the newspaper now when I read. I never take any newspaper anymore since I have problem with my own business. And I feel whatever they say in the newspaper it's kind of lie.
So it's amazing. It is completely unbalanced coverage. Sometimes it gives you the feeling that the assignment editor is taking their assignments from somebody in City Hall.
We did get a call from downtown, from City Hall, saying, why is Mr. Holmes' car sitting in front of the Journal-Times for approximately 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours? That's what he said to me. Now, my car is pretty conspicuous. It's a yellow Corvette. So everybody knows my car. But downtown, City Hall, took the time to contact the Journal-Times, Racine Journal-Times, to find out why is Mr. Holmes' car sitting there that long. Once they found out the spill or what was actually going on, they killed the story. Until today, that story has not been told. I'm just giving you some snippets of what actually happened. It would take me, I could sit here for months and tell you stories that you would never believe.
Our first speaker lined up tonight, Mark Levine, speaking on 6th Street bar license.
I'd like to read you one paragraph of a longer letter that I received a copy of from one of my tenants who also sent the letters to the city. This is just a part of it, but it says, from week 1, I have made 57 calls to the Racine Police Department. I have never called due to bar noise, but have called because there are literally mobs of people underneath my window, swearing, flashing weapons, throwing punches, and vandalizing property.
Well, we're in the BID, Business Improvement District, and we have the head of the board director actually, has been part of the movement to get rid of Keith that I know of, probably Thomas Holmes too, by inviting people to call in to complain and giving them discounts if they do, because he has a building on the street.
In 2011, I was looking for an apartment for myself and my son. I checked the advertisements. I wanted to look toward Racine because it's cheaper than in Illinois. So I went on to Craigslist. I seen an ad and it sounded great. It was huge, 1,400 square feet, $740 a month, and a special discount, which was indicated in the advertisement.
So she called the owner of the ad, and she like, Ma, you wanna take a ride to Racine? And like, yeah, let's GPS that, let's see how that GPS works.
We then went into the apartment. He was showing us around. It was very nice. The apartment was located upstairs. The bar was next door to the apartment. And he began talking to my mom and I, just telling us about Racine. It's a great city to live in, and they've been having some problems, just trying to clean it up with some of the local bars.
My daughter said $740, and he was like, yeah, but he was talking about this discount. And I'm like, my eyes got big. I'm like, discount, saving money? That's what we all about. We about saving money. So it's like $140 off of $740. You're gonna pay $600 for this big old place? And he's like, yeah, but there was stipulations. So when it got to the stipulation, I kind of went like, oh, okay. Then I'm like, Georgia, well, what are you gonna do?
We've been having some issues with the bars. There have been like fights and so forth with the bar across the street and the one downstairs. And if you, as a tenant, would complain about noise level with the bar, anything, just if it's just too noisy, then the rent would be $600 a month. So I'm like, wow, okay. I said, well, what if I don't have a problem with the noise? He said, well, the rent will be $740. I said, okay, so as long as I continue to complain, the rent will remain at $600. He said, yes.
Well, when they finished with all that, I felt like I was a criminal. I'm not gonna lie. I went and got in the car, peeping around the corner to make sure he was leaving. I'm like, why am I feeling like this here? This crazy. I mean, I pay my taxes. Why I can't just go in here and have me a drink in this bar? So we ducking in the car, and so we finally get out of the car, then we go over, creeping, trying to run over there to the bar, It's like, I felt like a little kid, and I'm grown, and I felt like a little kid. So we go in the bar, and we like, I'm just nosy. I'm like, hey, what's going on over here? What's going on in Racine? Is anything going on up here? I heard you guys gonna be making all these changes. Y'all getting all these security cameras. He looking at me like, what are you talking about? What, where you can like, well, this guy, Mr. Levine, we just looked at the apartment upstairs. So, we trying to find out what's going on. What's the big secret, and stuff. So, you know, I had my drink, and so I left him my phone number. And but later on that night, I get a call from the bar owner. He said, you guys come up on a Friday, first Friday, they always have, you know, something nice. That's right up my alley. I'm like, yeah, I like nice and music and stuff like that. So like, okay, we're gonna come up just see what's going on First Friday. So when we came up on First Friday, we went into and we met with Mr. Keith, and then I met with Mr. Thomas, and we were just mingling, just trying to, enjoy the crowd. But then next thing we know, we got to fill out these affidavits, and it's like, well, what the hell? Where's all this stuff coming from? It's like, I really didn't want a part of it, but I knew that they like, you ladies are God sent. You ladies are angels fell from heaven. I said, you said that right. But we didn't, the thing is that we didn't fabricate anything about what happened or what transpired with Mr. Levine. Everything was what it was.
Well, I used to think that the Journal Time was just a paper that hired neophytes, that hired beginners, and they didn't know how to do investigative journalism. But that not be the case.
So when I got contacted by the reporter, she says to me, she went on to talk about my daughter. And did you know your daughter? Well, yeah, I knew my daughter got into trouble.
The reporter was, I guess during the meeting it escalated, and it turned into something that was much more than I originally knew it was or was going to be. Being truthful ended up hurting me. Being truthful ended up hurting me when the only thing I wanted to do was just tell what happened. And I'm not perfect. I don't proclaim to be, I can't. I know. Just go in there and tell them like it is.
I came to court to testify for Mr. Thomas, on what I heard. And so when I got up there, I got ragged, really. The case wasn't even about Mr. Levine. The case was about my daughter. It had nothing to do with what Mr. Levine said or the offer that was made or, what my daughter had to do. It was about, well, your daughter, wait a minute, I felt like my daughter was on trial there and Mark Levine was just over there like this here. I'm just chilling, This is what's going on because I run things around here. I'm chilling. And I'm like, well, that wasn't right.
You're on your own here, and I think of Wilbur, good God. It's just a very sorry story about what's happening here. I'm not exaggerating.
When somebody paint nigger on your wall, that's a hate crime. When people go and put white powder on your locks, so you thinking it's something Amtrak's, then, that's a hate crime. And with nothing done about it.
I think the committee was unfair in the way they proceed and looked at this case, and I'm voting against it because I think the whole process was unfair, and I think that due process was not given properly, and I think we should, reconsider.
Point out the fact that the words fairness is a very subjective comment there. I believe this was a very fair hearing, in my opinion.
The lady that was calling my customers nigger, she was one of the people that was at court testifying against me. And I brought that up, and they said that wasn't irrelevant to the case.
City government needs to be above the fray. It needs to be following the law, and it needs not to be injecting its personal opinions into its decisions about how it handles policing or how it handles licensing.
And after every time we would beat a case against the city, for instance, when the chief of police, Wellham, did not sign the affidavit, you know, when he didn't swear to the complaint, immediately after that, that hit the paper the very next day. I think the next day after it hit the newspaper, our windows were blown out because a lot of people were expecting us to be closed. Closed on what? Lies and fabrication from the city of Racine, the police department, the city hall. And as a result of that, no investigations took place.
At 1:09 in the morning, the window, I've got a tape where it just blows out. Their police report says, oh, it was kids, and the neighbors said, oh, we think we saw teenagers walking around with rocks. I'd like to meet these teenagers because they could pitch for the New York Yankees. I mean, they had to throw it across the street through a double pane window. Absolutely no way was that kids throwing rocks. There was no investigation into it. I realized, this is a downhill slide.
And in 2011 to 2012 has been the worst year of my life because it has been targeting, torture, stopping of cars. Let me start out by saying this. Shortly after I got elected, gentleman down the street comes banging on the door. You said that you're supposed to be the alderman, blah, 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 you ain't doing shit and this and that and cussing. F this, F that, and then he said, F you. Well, of course, if somebody says F you to me, I'm gonna say F you back, so I was F you. And I said, get off my property.
He tells me, you know who I am, you know what I can have done to you, I'm gonna have you hurt.
About 4 or 5 days later and stuff, I get a citation in the mail. But it's not a citation. It's a summons to go to circuit court. But I used to be a police officer, so I'm saying, well, if you're gonna write me a disorderly conduct ticket, it should go to municipal court. Lo and behold, I find out that the police chief, the prior police chief, had his people in the police department beef these reports up, and they sent it to the district attorney of the county, and they were trying to get a misdemeanor charge of disorderly conduct. And this gentleman was the same person that shortly after that threatened me with an AK-47, said that he was going to shoot me with an AK-47.
People nearby aren't surprised by the allegations. Mike Vishek, who works a few doors down, tells me Fair has a violent temper.
Coming out after me, threatening me, he's gonna have bodily harm done to me and this and that. And I could just imagine what type of person he is.
And this gentleman threatened me, and I'm an elected official. But if it would have happened to a white elected official, they would have had him up underneath the jail. This guy was on a CD, and you probably should get that CD. And he was basically saying how he was going to put me in the trunk, and he was going to take me to some place. And they were running this CD in that due process hearing for Park 6, and they were listening to it. And so, if you listen to him say this on the CD, how come you didn't leave there? And the chief of police was there. How come you didn't leave there and go over there and arrest this guy? And to this day, nothing has happened to him.
Racine Tequila Bar is shut down by the city.
Yeah, today, police there served notice to the owner of Sierra's Tequila Bar. The city council unanimously voted to take away Sierra's liquor license. The bar owner argues he is being wrongfully targeted by the city. This is Racine. We have had crimes and serious crimes.
Well, I think I lost my business because of that accident, and they'll treat me unfair though when I went to a hearing, and they're trying to blame everything on me, and I can't help it, because The accident happens outside.
And this woman was shot and died at Michelson's. Was probably shot about in front of my front door, 16 years old. And Sarah was made to pay the price.
In 2 years, I ran the bar for like 2 years. I only had like 12 calls in a whole 2 years, and I don't think it's a lot. A lot of places got more than 16 calls in 1 month, and I only had like 13, 12 in 2 years.
You own it, it's a bar, it's always been a bar. You take its license away and you give it to someone else, and we have lots of licenses being given away. That building cannot be anything unless it's totally renovated into something else. So this man who bought an investment about the same time that I did has nothing going on in that building, and it's just falling apart. And I feel for him because I know many people who are like him.
I went to get some baby oil at the grocery store one day. Get in my car, travel 4 blocks. And after I traveled 4 blocks and stuff, I looked in the rearview mirror. I was just about at the back door, pulling in the driveway, and there's 3 squad cars with lights on. Follow me. I pull over. You mind stepping out the car, Alderman Fair? No. You mind stepping out the car, Alderman, Mr. Fair? Yeah, I'll step out the car. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to go through what we call a field sobriety test. I said, man, I know what that is. After about 30 minutes, I look in the rearview mirror, and there's the Wisconsin State Patrol pulling up. The Racine Police Department wants an independent opinion. So I did all of these steps for him. I passed all of these steps for him. So now they want an outside opinion. So he asked me to do the same thing. So the cars are honking, people are looking, I'm hopping, jumping, and doing all of this step and fetch and shit in broad daylight out on the main drag and stuff of the city of Racine. Got back in my car. Get back in my car, and the state patrol officer came up after talking to the police officers. He came up and he said, well, Mr. Fair and stuff, as far as we're concerned and stuff, you're all right and stuff. You passed all the tests and everything. The same sergeant that stopped me, that spoke to me, know him. He steps up to the window and he says, well, the reason why we went through all of these precautions with you is because I stopped a lady and she had a diabetic shock or diabetic something, and she went into a seizure because she was a diabetic. And I looked at him and I said, what do you think, I'm stuck on stupid? I said, you asked me 2 questions. You asked me 2 questions when you first stopped me. Had I been drinking or was I on medication for anything? So if I was, on the second part of your question, if I was on medication for anything, it would be on diabetics. I would be sticking a needle in my arm. And I would have told you so. I said, so don't bring me that bullshit. You wanted to get me for drunk driving or something.
I worked so hard for the ginger. I've been gone for 5 months because I have the baby. Then I come back. I let the DJ go. I changed the crowds. And now it seems everything getting better. I know I come to work. I know pretty much all the customers that come. We have a good crowd. We never have a fight. I know a lot about hair problem too. It just seemed not fair for me to take the license away. Thank you.
Thank you.
If we move to somewhere else, we can keep the liquor license for us. And for me, I just think I put so much money and I think I didn't do anything wrong. And I feel like people can be anywhere. Why do I have to move? And I still believe in the law that they can't do anything to me because as long as if we do everything correct and follow the law, everything should be fair. But finally, I should get take license away.
There is no, in any way, race consideration for whether somebody is called in and how they are treated. And the implication of that is really inappropriate in my opinion.
So if the hip-hop is not an issue, then that question wouldn't come up in question and answer period when a person of color comes to ask for a liquor license.
They feel bad for me, but too bad. I have the wrong customer. I have the wrong crowd. And I say, really? What is wrong crowd? Why you say that to them? Have they do anything to them?
Behavior reaps negative benefits. Good behavior reaps good benefits. Bad behavior reaps bad benefits.
I will proudly stand before the people of the city of Racine, and especially the people who live around this location, who came and begged the Common Council for help with the problems that they were experiencing in their neighborhood.
I have never made a decision on anything other than behavior of the patrons within the establishment that goes to the due process. And I don't think I'd be on the Affirmative Action and Equal Rights Commission if there was a problem with me making decisions because of music and the color of a person's skin. Thank you.
I'm original from Thailand, and I think in Thailand kind of a lot of things going on like that, you know, and I never expect. I always think United States is always people follow the rule. It's no about you have power, you can do anything you want. Except about, you know, people in, you know, my country, sometimes you can do that. But when I came to Racine, I feel that Racine is just, they don't have, sorry to say, but people have no education, just old school, they never keep going. They just think, you know, okay, I have a power, this is Y-City, I want to do what I want to do.
I met this young lady, she was homeless with her son. And I helped her out of homeless, and I got her an apartment, and I trained her to be a private investigator. I got a license as a private investigator, from homelessness to a house, job, working at the bar. But unfortunately and stuff, she's young and stuff, she slipped back into the same old mode that she was in. And so she started, you know, to gravitate on the streets and stuff, and, you know, hang around with the drug dealers and that. So on this particular time or incident, I basically told her and stuff she wasn't driving my Lexus anymore. And so I was taking her home. And the altercation happened and stuff, and I just basically ended by saying that she spit in my face. So once again, here comes the police department. Police department comes down there. They say that she told him, oh, he hit me and he strangled me. She's telling people, no, I didn't tell him that. So the police department responds to the thing, and they don't do a thorough investigation. They rush to judgment, they jump the gun. All of a sudden they call the sheriff's department. One of the biggest time periods down here in the downtown area is what we call Party on the Pavement. On the evening of Party on the Pavement, where all of these people all around, here you come, police department, sheriff's department, like stormtroopers, with a search warrant to search my property.
Are you going to resign?
Not yet. Hey, I'm here for a meeting.
All right. Do you plan on resigning?
I'll give you a statement after I get out of the meeting.
Why did you come today?
Around. It's because I'm here to do the meeting like I always do, okay? All right? Okay, excuse me.
How do you feel about being here tonight?
I feel good.
You nervous about it?
No, I feel good. I feel good. So here I am arrested in the county jail for some fictitious stuff. And Bo Connor, Greg Helding, is standing on the steps of City Hall bright and early on a Sunday morning talking about we're going to get him removed from office because he did what he did. This is not the first time that there's been a rush to judgment in this particular city, in this particular county, as it pertains to minority people.
Do you think you are being picked on, that you are being targeted here because you are African American?
Absolutely. the beat just keeps on coming and keeps on coming.
This system is evil and corrupt, and we're going to stand up against you. You'll see. From the words of Dr. King, how befitting is his birthday. We're going to stand up until justice roll in like a mighty rushing wind. I want my license back. Thank you. Did just what they wanted to do, and if I was to grade the city on it, I'd give them an A+, based on the false reports, looking into things to try to create us as a sore eye in the neighborhood, standing on top of buildings at night, filming the business, to try to find something. Police cars parked on every corner with videotaping the establishment after it was closed. And once you get that type of sore eye in the community, of course, people gonna want you to go. It was all fabricated for that purpose.
And then when they did take my license, I was no longer in business when they decided to take it. I had closed up for a while, and then they decided to take me to due process just because I was trying to sell my business. They wanted to take the license away so I couldn't sell it.
They gave us a reason why they wanted us to move, because we were downtown. They said if we were anywhere else, it really wouldn't be as much of an issue. But because we were downtown on Main Street, they didn't want us, they didn't want that sore. They wanted the downtown to be nice and quiet.
Not target bars and close them down, believing that's going to solve the problem. I haven't seen that done by the DRC. I haven't seen it done by the police department, nor have I had any word from the mayor's office. You would expect that a progressive mayor that in a city that have a population, I would guess over 40%, would come forward and try to work with that population in order to solve the problem and remove, if it's a myth that the city is trying to drive people out, then I would think government would speak up and try to clear that up.
With my involvement in Park 6 over the last 6 months, I've become convinced of one thing, that Park 6 is targeted by the city of Racine for revocation of its license. That along with other African-American run businesses. And I think when we have an impartial trier of fact, review these facts, the city of Racine is going to lose. The city of Racine is not going to come out on top, and their true motivations are going to be revealed. Thank you.
Alderman Kaplan now sits in the mayor's chair when the mayor is out of town. So it just raises more concerns about just how objective the city is with regard to minority-owned bars in the city.
Having seen the block changed recently, when Winter Circle was brought under a tremendous amount of scrutiny by the Public Safety and Licensing. Five Corners Bar is no longer in existence. Rosie's is no longer in existence. I thought it was really nice and refreshing to have just a little neighborhood bar. That's why I didn't come and speak against it. And I didn't think there was a need to speak in favor of it, because I figured by me not speaking against it was plentiful for all to see that I was in favor of returning to yesterday.
I mean, as a downtown resident, in the bid, which was supposed to be a business improvement for all of us, we were told, because we didn't say yes, yes, yes to everything, that we couldn't be connected. Well, that's why I guess I've been ever since then I've been saying, we need a chamber of commerce, a real chamber of commerce where everybody who has a business counts.
Well, I lost my business and I lost my house because I was no longer in business. And I couldn't maintain, so I had to go and find a job.
This was a real nice, safe place to come in, enjoy a beer, and some drinks. But since then, I do nothing but side jobs here and there.
They put pressure until I sell. But, you know, this is the city of Racine. And we really wanted to have a good talk with somebody about these problems.
It's just unfair how we lost everything my dad worked for. Is just gone now. Since I was a kid, me and my brother have been working here, and everything is just gone. There's nothing left. Like, we have nothing. Our business, that was what my dad saved for, like, for the longest time, and we have nothing anymore.
I want people to, they just think, okay, the Ginger is shut, it's fine. Have you think about how is she doing now? What, you know what I mean? What did she go through? And, you know, I have to almost get the bankruptcy, and, you know, I mean, think about that. If I strong enough, because I lost, like I never lost before, and I'm a woman here, I don't have any family. And the thing about if I kill myself, you kill one person, you know, and I didn't even do anything to all of you guys, you know.
When you look at the culture of Black America, the struggles that we went through as far as even for the right to vote, the right to go to the same schools that white people go to. What it does to me, it puts more of a fight in me. I'm not breaking down. From this day forward, from the time that I realized that they were coming after me, it just made me become a stronger person. This battle and this war is not over. I will fight this to the death, to my death.
So I've attended a lot of the licensing committee meetings and watched people do a dance about why their bar is going to make a difference in this town. And I see, you know, that it's who you are, you know, that makes a difference to people. And on the committee, I mean, there is no consistency about it, and it is discriminatory, without question.